Good morning. It is Wednesday, 26th of November. Okay, so Bitcoin is looking like piss. So, the move played out and it's just been dropping. I'm not interested in really trading it, but it does not look, there's no sign of strength here at all. The thing that's been in the back of my mind since we came into this area, this reversion was really just driven by this big puke of positioning. What we didn't see when we came into this area was much of a change in terms of spot demand. So, yeah, okay, there were some bids down here, but not, not a huge meaningful change in the book depth, which indicates to me that maybe there isn't a great deal of spot demand at these levels, and perhaps that's why we're not seeing any follow through here at all. And indeed, it continues to look weak in this area. That was perhaps actually. But in any case, no real change in the book depth, and it's just weakness, isn't it? Really, let's be honest about it. Let's call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. If we can get above 90, then sure, we can mean revert to at least, I would say, 96. Come catch up with a 30-day rolling, but after all of this volatility and with devol coming off the highs. Let me just get rid of this TPO nonsense. With devol coming off the highs, are we just moving into more of a range band environment again after this terrible chop that we saw in September and October? And if BTC is not going to show any intent to leg up and come and test higher levels, then alts are probably going to have a very bad time during this period, at least until we come and retest lower again. So, as it is, I'm not really interested in trading Bitcoin. I'm not interested in scalping these, 0.5% moves. It's just not my style. It just doesn't interest me. So what to do here, really? It's possible that, you could draw value out like this or something and assume that we're building out a bigger range, which is probably likely. Maybe even from here. It doesn't really matter at the moment. It will evolve. But important levels, I would say, the only really meaningful one we've got is previous week's val and the POC. Otherwise, we're probably going to come and retest the lows. So yeah, I'm just not interested. We held this high volume node yesterday on this test, but not really showing anything here. And against VWAP, it's obviously looking absolutely horrendous still. So yeah, it looks like, on the yearly here, we're trading below the developing year's value. It doesn't happen very often, right? Obviously we did it here and chopped and then rallied. But it's starting to roll over. VWAP's starting to point down. And yeah, if we can get above 90, we're probably going to go and retest this imbalance and potentially yearly VWAP. But no signs that that's really going to happen at the moment. Still struggling at the developing month, obviously well below quarterly. Generally, I would say in these situations, we're well extended from value and you should expect mean reversion, but no one's willing to lift the offer at the moment. So, the other thing that can happen, of course, is that we just chop here and value catches up. I think the wrong thing to assume is that we're just going to immediately break down because we're so extended from value. I think it's more likely that value at least catches up. Which is just going to mean a prolonged range here. So that's the way it's looking to me at the moment. You can get a sort of vague sense of how long this might last by the trajectory of the 30-day rolling, and that's going to take a good few weeks at least to catch up with price, assuming we just continue chopping here. So I'm not really interested unless we reclaim 90, and if we end up chopping here. And the moving average catches up, then I think that's bearish, right? Then I think we probably are just going to break lower towards, potentially April's low and maybe 70k. But nothing that I'm particularly enthused about in terms of BTC at the moment. So that then doesn't really bode well for alts. It's kind of a mistake. I think I made the mistake yesterday of looking at dominance and whatnot, but trying to form trade theses around that is kind of probably a bit of a fool's errand. And we're rejecting off the developing year's value high, previous week's value high, swept this one, kind of a 3 tap into that level. We needed it to hold here, right? And I took a long here yesterday, closed out before bed, expecting this to actually look better as we came into this return pullback, but we need to be mindful of the context here, right? And that is that we are in a high time frame downtrend, trading at the edge of the developing year's value. And like BTC, I think if we end up ranging at this 125 level, that's bearish, right? It's compression at support, and I would expect that to break down. So this was a good short. I was hoping that this would hold and look better, but it's piss. So not encouraged by the way Solana is looking at all, right? It would have been great to come and see a retest of this area of supply, but we are in a very bearish trend, and to shift condition on the year actually takes quite a lot of effort. So if we're unable to do that, it would just be in line with the trend. So in terms of how to trade Sol now, I mean, there was a short here, but it's difficult. Probably there will be a breakdown opportunity below here. We'll have to see. Maybe it forms, maybe like BTC, it forms more of a range. But I think, I think the BTC dominance weakness is a Fugazi, and in fact, it's kind of rallying a bit today. I just don't buy that alts are going to outperform BTC. It just doesn't make sense. So maybe ETH short term, but we're kind of already trading into this previous area of SR on dominance. So this area around sort of 57 to 58% has previously acted as support. So does it just halt here and reverse? I don't know. But I don't think alts are going to do well when BTC is this week, put it that way. Asta, good shorts. What to say about it really? I'll just go over the execution of this because it just requires a lot of patience really, the way I trade at least. So there's the composite highs. Obviously we came and tested the POC, could have taken a long here, filling out a gap. What was there here? Nothing really. What the justification for taking this short here was that buyers got a little bit horny. We had a bit of an acceleration into the high, and then we just bear flagged. And then today, on low time frames, clearly accepting back within here, and then a little sweep into the imbalance here at previous week's val. So that's where I took it in bed. Now expecting traversal of value and potentially for it to break down. The reason I say I expect it to break down is because we've done this, right? We've done this big displacement above, so probably going towards the lows. But that looks like shit, and obviously now I'm potentially losing the 30-day as well. Hype. So we've come and swept those highs into quarterly val, more or less. So is that the high in, is the question. Whoops. I mean, it's a good area to punt the short from. I've taken a third so far. Maybe that's it. Good excess on the high. Would have liked to have seen it push into quarterly val, but you can't have everything, and that level can vary across contracts. So more of a zone. But we've certainly been unable to reclaim the POC. I was looking at it earlier thinking, well, we've got 1 drive, 2 drives, do we get a third? So that's why I've not gone fully sized yet, because if we get a third drive up, that's where I would like to, get fully sized into that position, test the area around quarterly val, previous week's VWAP, and then perhaps that is the local top. But again, this is just weakness, right? Just bear flag weakness. Look at the impulsive moves versus what we get in here. So no reason to be bullish hype, I don't think, in spite of all the fanboys on the timeline. What else? I mean, I was looking at Litecoin here thinking, okay, this is actually a good location to maybe look at Litecoin because of where it's trading, right? Edge of value of this massive multi-month range. But we're spending way too much time here, right? It's just compressing, so it's piss. I think it's probably going to break down. Can probably go towards previous year val. So that's shit. Haven't really looked at much else this morning. Zek couldn't even come and sweep my gap. Little piece of shit that it is. Yeah, I really wanted to see just a sweep into that imbalance, but just got bonked back down a little bit before that. So yeah, we're compressing at yearly value high, this kind of region. And I think if it breaks down, it's going to probably go towards 380 at least next. So shame, I've got a small short left running from somewhere around here. I took quite a decent amount off yesterday, thinking I'd probably get that sweep. Doesn't look like it's going to come now. So yeah, not great. So yeah, I mean, everything looks pretty bad, except SPX, which is just chatting still. Annoyingly, because I was literally longing it down here. I think I took profit like somewhere here, but that's up 50% from that level now. Not bad in a bear market. Not bad at any time. Is there a short here on SPX? I mean, probably there will be at some point. What do we have here? It's a couple of days, isn't it? Maybe 3. Fill out this imbalance. I don't know. That's not too clear. What else is worth looking at? Let me just check the chat. Are there any coins anyone wants to look at? Let's take a look at ETH. Yeah, I mean, this was when we were trading here, I kind of thought this was potentially the area we could get capped in. So yeah, this imbalance, this selling imbalance, it's a tricky short to take here. Let's take a look at ETH in more detail. I hope everything just doesn't die straight away. Whoops. Okay, so weekly's just tried to go in balance, but rotational, trading around the mean. Monthly, it's like BTC because kind of struggling at monthly value. Quarterly looks like it needs to catch up. And yearly, trying to retest the underside of VWAP at around 3060. So yeah, there's not really a clear trade here at the moment. I think we're just forming some balance, aren't we? So that's probably a better way of approaching this. No, not really yet. Unable to get back within this 3-day from last week. So that was actually a level you could have worked with, at least for intraday trading. But yeah, there's nothing too clear on ETH at the moment. It's like BTC, just value just slowly migrating higher, but no real strength from bulls. So maybe just more chop as well. So I think the better trading opportunities are just going to be shorting alts and trying to find the ones that are giving the best setups. There probably aren't that many because so many have just gone straight down. Meteora, what is that? Met, never ever heard of or seen or traded this token. Have we got perps? Yeah, okay. Okay, new listing. So, strictly speaking, obviously we're well below listing VWAP, and that's pointing very down, kind of like most new listings. What's it done? Well, it's made a higher high, and we've kind of got some potential demand from this leg down. VWAP wise, previous week's val around 31 on this high volume node. I mean, that's probably where it needs to hold if it's going to see higher from here. But obviously retested this zone of resistance into this gap. So yeah, I'd say it needs to hold here, otherwise it's just going to keep bleeding out. If we just stick on anchored value from the top, yeah, and again, right, you've got confidence in the form of anchored val at that level. So needs to hold there, otherwise downtrend continues. I would expect VWAP to be significant resistance on any retest. At the moment, that's kind of lining up with this LVN. So, you know, potentially along off 31's target 38. Text on Solana, okay. But yeah, there's potentially along there, but you know, you have to be mindful of the probability that it's a new listing and these things just continue to bleed. So, but that's not a horrible setup. I mean, it's a decent shift back inside value, although that hasn't really been particularly well respected. VWAP has here, quite nicely extended. So yeah, one to watch. I think that's actually quite a reasonable setup, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Avantis, I've been looking at it loosely. Still chopping. I mean, it's disgusting trend. Just no buyers at all. But you know, momentum has kind of dissipated to the downside for now. So let's do the same thing with this. In fact, maybe just work with the Bybit pair. I think I have it marked up. Yeah. So still unable to get within listing value. That's still acting as resistance. I filled out most of this wick. So the idea I had yesterday, and we're still just chopping, so it hasn't really triggered. It's just that we're forming this multi-day composite. We've had a failed breakout today, so we're just chopping here. We've obviously had a long downtrend and it's just going sideways. So you need to see a breakout above this value high. And that's just, I need to change it. This TradingView TPO is really quite shit. I don't know what the ticker size is on this, so I'm just gonna have to guess. Let's go 20. That's better. Okay, so there's roughly where our value high is. And then let's just mark out this composite. So I don't know if I keep doing this. All right, so we've got 5 days roughly. So yeah, clearly still finding resistance at composite highs. Does it hold composite lows again? So the two ways in are if you get a failed break below and then a reclaim, or a successful breakout, in which case we can see some decent reversion. But yeah, again, you know, just need to be mindful of where BTC is trading, and if it's like if this happens and BTC's at range lows or whatever and finding support, then yeah, decent setup. But this with BTC coming off range highs is, you know, clearly a failing breakout. So yeah, those are the two kind of ways in if it's going to go higher. And obviously, if we just break value, then we're probably going towards the lows again, pretty simply. But yeah, still in a massive downtrend. You know, in 2022, we would have seen decent bounces from these things, I think. But times have changed. So, I mean, that's just disgusting, isn't it? We are trading at this previous demand. That's the only good thing I can say about it in terms of location. But yeah, consolidating here for too long is not a good thing. So we'll see. If we can break that, then I think it's a good setup. But until then, I'd be defensive. Is there anything else I want to look at? Probably not. Sui was doing okay, but I think I'll leave it there for today. So just wanted to share an update, and catch you guys later. Cheers.